Okay, now should be recording. Yes. Okay, so good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to a new session of the Severo Ochoa Coffee Talks. And today is with us Ramon Ribó, which is a civil engineer with a PhD in mesh generation and preprocessing for FEM, obtained here at Timne. And today he's going to present a new tool, which is called Tdiary. Human resources and knowledge management in companies. Why is it important to keep a log of employees' activities? So let's find out. And I'm going to give the word to Ramon, and he's going to show us a little bit about this Tdiary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alejandro. Good afternoon. I'm going to start. Are you already seeing the presentation?
Yes, at least I can see it myself.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm going to present a new tool that we have developed recently in the last year. And I am more than entering into a lot of details of the tool that I will do. The most important thing is to try to answer to the question, why have we created this tool and what problem are we trying to address with it? So let's go to the first question. Why? The reality is that today there are a lot of software tools, many of them very good, that help to the companies to track a lot of information, to do data management, document management, even people management. Recently, there are a lot of tools that track the working time of the employees. So why a new tool? Is it useful? Can it be complementary to the rest of tools that probably many of the companies already use? And I will try to answer this question and give the reasons that, in my opinion, go to the fact that this tool can be a useful tool for managing teams, working teams at the end. What's for me the most important point that addresses this tool? The most important point is that, in my opinion, it is very good for a team, for a working team, to create what I say a culture of logging activity. What does it mean? It means that we are used that in the companies, people just work, or make a lot of things. Most of the people make a lot of things, either commercial, either technical, whatever. From time to time, it's necessary to convert this work into papers, and then people make reports, make, for example, the minutes of a meeting, and convert into papers this continuous work inside the company. This work that is made when documents are created or presentation, of course, it's accumulated knowledge of the company, but it is made in some sparse moments. So when it is necessary to create a new document, people need to use maybe 1 hour, maybe several hours of the time, a lot of effort to create a new document. This is good. Sometimes new documents are necessary. What I am proposing today is that, in addition to this document creation, or even in some cases as a substitution of this document creation, depending on the case by case, we have observed in practice that a very convenient way to accumulate the knowledge that create every day all the employees of a company is to keep a log of their activity. What does it mean? It means that we ask every employee of the companies that this tool has been implemented, that every day they write some kind of information about the activities that they have made that day. The activities can be commercial, for example, some description of a meeting, can be technical, for example, some improvement in whatever technical work is doing one person, or can be whatever other information one thinks that can be useful in the future and merits to be recorded. In parallel to this information, just to do the same work at the same moment, it's possible to also add the times that are required to do every one of these activities. So we get a lot of information about the employee's activity. The reality is that, a practical experience, once one person gets used to feel this activity, it means maybe spending 5 minutes per day, not more. So it's not something that takes a lot of workforce from the people. And we consider that this accumulation of knowledge, if it's made in a more or less disciplined way, which is the most difficult thing to achieve, can be very useful in the future, because many details of the day-to-day of a company get not lost or get semi-lost and very difficult to recover, buried inside thousands of emails. So it's information of more quality than just trying to review the thousands of emails that everyone has in their email program. Another point that is useful of this, let's say, culture of logging activity is that we transfer some of the control of the work of the employees to the employee by itself. I mean, it's more of a self-control instead of having an employer or a boss or a manager feeling the need of following very close activities of the employees. So having this log, it's a way of saying, I give you employee responsibility for your tasks. You just inform of what you are doing. I can review it from distance, and I only need to talk with you when I need more detail or a more detailed discussion of whatever of the points. But the day-to-day, I know what you're doing without making you spend time explaining to me. This gives the additional advantage that facilitates something that up to 1 year ago was not a strong requirement, but now it has become a strong requirement. That is that it facilitates to work in any place. So the work into distance, either at home or either in several companies, it makes it much more easier. The traditional ways of control from employers to employees was by physical contact, talking every day, seeing the number of hours that every person works, these kind of things. If the employer or the responsible of the boss, whatever, can have this information, both of the activities that the person do and the times that dedicates to every activity, it's much easier for this person not to feel so necessary to track directly the time of the people. And finally, another point that I consider important for activity like this, for an application like this, is that it's also possible, in parallel to the information that is given by the person, which is the most important, of course, it's also possible to help this person to feel this activity and to help to feel part of this information. It's possible to make some kind of automation. Specifically, it's possible to make some tracking of the compute activity of the person. Of course, this compute activity has to be made in a way that keeps a complete privacy in whatever information the employee is making, but this is not difficult. And so it's possible to accumulate this information about compute activity. So it's possible, at least partially, to create some task automatically, linking compute activity, for example, opening a document with Word, with some kind of activity. This moment, we have very simple algorithms, but I see clearly that these algorithms can be refined in the future and find some kind of patterns between computer activities and real activities. And of course, these patterns can be refined, accumulating information. This is, as you know, exactly the definition of many of the algorithms used in artificial intelligence, which is to take patterns of relations between a lot of data and the reality, and then try to calculate these links automatically for the next step of the work. So these artificial intelligence methods are not still there, at least not sophisticated, but as everybody knows, it's very important to have a lot of data to make artificial intelligence, and this program can be the opening gate to get this information. you have a lot of information, then you can develop or add in the future new algorithms that make some clever usage of this intelligence. So always the first step is gather the data, and later you can put a lot of things over it. The next question is why we, either as Compass or either as Cypedia, do this kind of things. Why people whose origin is Thymne, people specialized in numerical methods in engineering, are thinking and working in these subjects related to data management. The reality is that there is some history there, and some history that, if you look at the years, it has been followed during quite a lot of years. Since the beginning of Compass in 2005, we began with the development of a software program called Lognoter that has been used extensively in several tasks related to data management. This was a desktop program in that time. The cloud programs were not so usual in that time. And we created Lognoter, and it has been used up to now. Later, as part of a European research project, we worked in the logistics of ship containers. And then we developed an additional module inside Lognoter to manage this logistic change. So this was an additional work that continued from this initiative, which was Lognoter. And later we make a new program based on the formers, which is Tdiary, which, apart from other things, was our first intent to keep track of employees' activities. So in Tdiary, it was already possible there 10 years ago to keep some kind of information of the time that dedicated every person in the company for every project. With this tool, it was later possible for us to keep track of the total amount of engineer time dedicated to every project, and then we could make economic analysis of the performance in every project that the company was attached to. So this was an early try on this subject. Later, keeping advantage of all this information, we developed a new initiative with origin at Thymne and at Compass, which was called Cypedia, and which took the form of a new company, in fact. There is a new company, which is called Cypedia, that developed a new tool, which is a publishing center for research documents, for research magazines, that we made public for the first time in 2017. And it's like a publication company, but with what we considered that were novelty, more new methods that we considered superior to what we are using in that moment, the traditional publishing companies. For example, one of the key points of Cypedia in that moment was that the documents, although they were created either with LaTeX or as Word documents, were converted into what we called web documents, which is nothing more than some kind of a specialized wiki page in a very similar way that the pages that are at Wikipedia. So we created this research publication company that deals not only with magazines, but also with congresses. And that now is taking some kind of advantage of the fact that the congresses are converging to quite a lot to video, not only to printed documents, to the preprint, and postprint, etc., but also to video. The next initiative that we make after Cypedia was a new product which we call Cypedia Team Up, which is a product that, based on the technology that we developed for Cypedia, we found a different use for it, which is to make document management for companies or institutions that needed to manage documents, either to show to the public or either to work with them. So it's a product that can be used for whatever, for companies, institutions, but currently the most interesting use in these moments is for the public administration, that they manage a lot of documents and need somehow to deal with them and to show them to the citizens. And the next project that followed from there was a specialization of the former, which is BIM Team Up, which is a tool for managing BIM projects. Everybody which come from the field of construction or civil engineering knows very well what is a BIM project. So BIM Team Up, it's a tool for BIM project management to share the project between the different actors that work with this project. And this is a tool that we are also making for the public administration. Based on all this experience that, as you see, has been developed during 15 years, when the COVID arrived, we have the same necessity than most of the companies and research centers and institutions to find tools that facilitated the working in remote, working at home, or working from whatever place was every person. Immediately, we make a very simple tool, based what we call Markdown log management, which was used to make this same activity, to keep track of the log activity of the employees. So we could know, the rest of the people could know what kind of activities and during what time were employees doing. Later, this initial basic initiative was converted into a full program, a complete program, which is the program that we call Tdiary, that tries to solve exactly the same problem, but with modern tools, with web applications, local desktop applications, the standard tools that everybody knows very well. Okay, now we have tried to show what do we want to solve, what did we want to solve, and now we are trying to explain how. Well, we need a tool. We need a tool to create this culture of logging activity. And this tool, we have defined it as create a simple and great app. I can assure you that the tool that we have created is definitely simple, and maybe not today, but we hope that someday it can arrive or it can become a great app. Of course, it's always very difficult to do great things, but at least it's a good objective to try to achieve this. What does this tool do? Let's see. The first point is that this tool, following the current trends, tries to be dual, in the sense that it tries to be a cloud app and a local app. What does it mean? That it's possible, this app, to be used just from a web browser, which is very immediate. It works well in the telephone. It works well in a tablet, in the computer, in any place that we are. It can be used and it works perfectly there. But we created also a local app. At the end, you can enter more or less the same data. Why did we do this? Because the local app has an additional capability, which is to track the computer activity, to log the computer activity, and save this information so as later can be used for several things, among others, to automate the creation of log entries. Also, it is convenient because it's for the day-to-day in the working computer, in the main working computer that we need to enter. It's convenient when we log the activity of one person. It's very convenient once an activity is finished. For example, one meeting is finished or some work that we have done is finished. That is the best moment to write that information. And then it's good to have a local tool which open instantly, and then it's possible to write the information and continue working. The next point, which is important, is how this log is organized. This log is organized basically into axes. The first axis is this is organized by companies. So one person, it's for every company. Although the application is unique, it is as if it were a different application for every company. Although one person can be in one or more than one companies, but it's organized in companies in the sense that a person for every employee, the employee is attached to one company or more, and then it's possible to check all the information and track it based on the company that every person is. How do we track this information? We track it based on reports, of course. We enter a lot of information, and then we take advantage of this information if we are able to generate good reports on it. What kind of reports? The first, of course, is just the information that we have entered, just exposed. This was what we say the log history. And this is a very simple tool. We just write what has been written before, but I can assure you that if you have been a little bit disciplined and constant entering the information, you get at the end of the week or the month or the year, you get a very high quality information, much more quality than trying to review the emails or trying to review the meeting minutes, which is information that it's sometimes difficult to find. It's quite a high quality information. And the next thing that we can have is timetables. If we have entered time information, later we'll explain how this time information is entered, we get some interesting things. The first one is we can get the timetable for a period, which is useful for the current obligation that have all the companies with the public administration to keep track of the working time of the people. Then, of course, there are many tools that permit this, but in this case, we consider an advantage that the tool that we use for logging, at the same time, we enter the time information. So we enter both information in just one place, and we are more efficient. So it's possible to extract from here timetables for legal reasons. But also, if we have entered time information separated by projects, it's possible to take timetables per project. So it's possible to get a timetable of all the people in the company that has worked for one project and keep the score of the total hours dedicated to this project. Once you have the total hours dedicated to this project, just adding some economic price to the hours, you can get the cost of a project which is based on hours. So you see that we can have all this information. We will see one example, either from oneself or either for the people of the company. Of course, as you can imagine, there are several levels for the access to the data. And a normal employee can only access to own data, but the administration person of one company can access the data of the rest of the employees of the company. So I will not extend myself more in the basic explanation, and I will make a very brief demonstration in the real program of how the data is entered and how the reports can be viewed. It's really very simple. I think that we will not need a lot of time, but I think it's convenient to see the real program because you can get the idea that making a few actions, which are really simple to do, in the long term, you get a lot of quality information from all the people. Okay. If someone wants to have the web page of Tdiary, you can get the web address here. Okay, now I am going to finish the presentation. And I am going to present the program in action. Do you see correctly my screen?
Now I think you are not sharing, or maybe it's delayed.
Yeah, let's see. Let's try again.
Now it seems that it's working. Thank you.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, now we see two windows. The window on the left, it's a normal Chrome browser. You can see the browser here. And it just, we are opening the application in the browser. You see here a localhost address just because for demonstration purpose, it's easy for me to make it locally, but we should see the real web address here, which is the Tdiary address that I can give you later. And this is the local application, the application that one can install in the computer. As you see, they are quite similar. We do more or less the same thing with them, but the window in the right has a couple of advantages. The first one is that it's very easy to show and hide. I am going to press one global key, Command Y, and you see that it appears in real time. This is a very practical thing because it makes very easy to hide the window. We continue our work, doing whatever, creating a document, making a meeting, programming, whatever we do. And then when we finish one of the subtasks, we just open, enter the information, and hide again and continue. Okay? So similar applications, but with this advantage in the local one. The second advantage of the local one is that it keeps track of the local computer activity. If we look at an example of this local activity, we can see it here. This is a recording of the work in the local computer. This is a recording of the local computer just taking care, as I said before, of some privacy concerns, in the sense that we are not going to track information that can be considered private. So it's a very generalistic tracking that tries to get the basic information. Are we working with a Word document? Are we working with a tool for programming? Are we working with a web browser, with one tool, with another? If we work with a Word document, we can keep track of the document name. So this is a kind of information that later we can associate with real tasks that can be entered into the application. Okay. The next point is that we have two windows, and every window is attached to a different user. This is user. Peter Boss. He's an administrator of the company. The company, I use the company name Tdiary. So he can make additional things related to the company. The first one of them is invite users. If a responsible of a company needs one of his new employees to become a user Tdiary inside their company, they just can create an invitation, enter whatever information is necessary. An invitation is created, is sent to the new user, and the user can create an account that will be attached to this company. So after doing this short process, for example, here we select the company. After doing this short process, the new user can begin to work with the Tdiary. Okay. Let's see the information. First, let's see information that we have entered in days before. In this case, we have 2 days. It's just a test. This is not a real user. It's just a test for showing purposes. Here we have stored some information about a meeting with some mention. I will tell which is a mention, and with a project that I will tell which is a project, and in this case also a duration and some sub-items that are relevant for this meeting. How do we enter this information? If I go to the diary, I am in the diary in the today situation, and then I can write. If I want to enter a meeting, I just write it, enter a meeting. Then the first thing to consider is the projects. If I write the sign plus, I get a list of all the projects that I have already used in the past. I can select one of them, or I can write whatever new project is necessary, new project. So these projects are the ones that later will be used for either for searching or for the timetables for the projects. So what we write with the plus sign, we can imagine it for several things, either for a real project of the company or several tags just to differentiate the kind of entries that we make. In the case of formal project names, it's possible in the tool that the administrator of the company defines some predefined projects, so everybody use the same. So if two employees in the company are working the same project, they need to use the same name. So this is possible to achieve. And the next thing that is interesting are the mentions. If we use the ampersand, we get a list of all the people that is in the same company. Now here we have only two people, 3, because it's just a test, but in a real company there would be whatever, 10, 20, 50, whatever people would be in the company, and then we can mention them. For example, I can begin to write. I have here already the boss, in this case. Would be the name of a person. What happens with the mentions? The first thing that happens is that you can search by them, and then you get the name of that person. But the second one is that this is not completely developed, but it's a capacity that will be there in a short time, is that when someone enters a new entry, which mentions either one person or the full company, then the rest of the people in the company or the person that has been mentioned has direct access to this information. It becomes public for the person that has been mentioned. In these ways, the tool can become also a very simple communication tool, in the sense that, for example, when making a meeting and mentioning the other people in the meeting, they can get access to the minutes of the meeting. If we, for example, we can add to the entry, we can add sub-entries. We can add here sub-entries and put more detail on, or we can add a note also. The note can be written either with a standard editor, with bold items, etc., or can be used the Markdown syntax if someone knows it. And then it's possible to add notes to the meeting or to the task hand. It's possible also to just contract the notes, so as we continue working. And so the typical day, we would enter this information. And if the task is relevant, we can assign some time dedicated to the task. In some cases, it has sense. In some other cases, it's not necessary to enter the task. So depending on the task, we can say we have worked here 1 hour and 38 minutes or not to add it. It's of course not compulsory. So in a first iteration of the tool, we just enter the information that we consider important that can be reviewed later. But to make more convenient to enter the timetables, if you want that every employee enter their 40 hours a week normal work hours in a simple manner, we have an additional tool which is called Timetable, which permit to select either current day or maybe all the days of the week, and say the number of hours that we have worked that day. If we do this, we get an additional tasks. We can put whatever name. That gets the time difference between the times that we had already introduced in the tool up to the final time that we wanted to include. In this way, the addition of all the times, as you see, is made 8 hours. So what does it mean? It means that in the normal work of the people enter only the real tasks, enter the real tasks, enter, in some cases, enter sometimes or not, depending on the convenience, but to comply with the legal necessity of entering the 40 hours a week that most people work, we have this tool that make it very easy and very convenient. 8 hours, 5 days a week. We can do it just once a week, and we spend approximately 1 minute of our time to do this. So it's a quite convenient tool. Here we can put whatever for the task. So you see, we enter the tasks. In the task, we need to put some intelligence, of course, and we can automatize the entering of the rest of the timetables. Another option that I begin, maybe I can make it clear here. Another point is that the program saves all the versions that we are creating for this day. So every time that we are adding information to our current day or removing information in our current day, we have here all the previous version that has been saved. So we can go ahead behind in time. If we have delete by mistake, whatever, or we want to see something that we entered in the past, we can go there and just see the version. I'm going to do a clear to show another capability. The other capability that I've talked before is that we have this information that was here about the tasks, so the computer task, the activity in the computer, which is automatically registered. From there, we can press this button here, tasks, and we make a proposal. You can see in the proposal that in this case, it uses just the name of some of the programs that I have used during the day, but this can be made much more sophisticated and will do in the time. And we get the times that accumulate in every of these activities. So once this tool is refined, because it needs maybe some refinement, it will be possible to work all the day, and at the end of the day or the next day, tell the computer, just fill for me the tasks. Then I get an idea of the time that I devoted to every computer program, and then from here I can refine and say, in reality, I was doing whatever else. I was doing development work. Coming again to the privacy item, the privacy is kept. Its privacy, of course, is important. This is maintained by basically two facts. The first fact is that when we are recording the information of the computer, we try not to enter, not to save personal information. Of course, the program tries to do it well. If something fails, the user can always come here and just delete some tasks. If they consider that a task does not respect enough his privacy, it just can be deleted. In practice, I assume that this would be normally necessary because it should be just generic information. So it's more statistic information than personal information. From these tasks, as you know, it's possible to create this automation. And the second privacy thing is that if we assign in an entry a project or that starts with personal, then it's a way of telling the program that that task is personal, and should not be viewed by the administrator of the company. So it's a personal task just for personal things, and it does not get recorded by the administrator. So we have seen how to enter the data. We are now going to see how we see this data. Okay. The first and obvious way to see the data is just the standard report. This is a report of 3 days, and these are the things that we have made. The notes are exposed in this way. The subpoints are exposed in this way. And from here, we can do some more or less convenient things. For example, if you want to search for one project, we just press here, and we see only the points related to that project. So we can see information in a simple way for just one project. The second thing that is convenient is that we can press in one day, and from here we can go to the editor. So we go to the editor, and we can modify whatever data is necessary for that day. So this would be the most simple report, and it goes time behind up to the origins that we have entered. If we have a lot of information, we have just a more button that it prints some information. We press the more button, and we get the previous information. Nothing more than this. Let's go to sophisticate this a little bit more. The next point is that we can show the same information in table shape. This is exactly the same, but we have a table, so it may be more convenient to see some things. And we can also specialize for project or whatever. And then we have the timetable, which is a table that for every employee, in this case for oneself, this is the name of the person, gets a total amount of times introduced. So we can print here the addition of all the times that has been entered into the system. Okay, we can do this in general, or we can use some type periods. Okay, now we are not anymore in the employee side. We are going to the responsible of the employee side. We can do exactly the same. This is the personal information. This is exactly the same here. But we have a menu here that we can select not only oneself, but we can select either one employee individually or the full company. If we go to the employee individually, we would get the same information that we viewed before in the employee side. If we want to see all the company at the same time, we just choose the company, say Tdiary, and we see the addition of all the entries. Yeah, there are more entries because there is another user. You can see the more button here. More and more and more and whatever. And well, of course, exactly the same for tables. So we can see here the tables in table shape for all the company. So we see here the rest of the people. And you can see the rest of the people. We can see also the time. As I told you here in this report of all the company that is made by the responsible, we wouldn't see the private, the personal fields, they would be hidden. And here we can make also a timetable. So we can make a timetable for everybody in the company, for example, for this month or for the previous month. Okay. So we would have for the full month, in this case, we would select a month. We would have for the full month, for every person in the company, we would have the addition of all the time that this person has worked in the company. It even writes starting and finishing time. These are global data. Well, the starting time is standard, it's always the same time, in this case 9. And the finishing time is just you add the origin time and you get the finish time. In this case, this is organized by days. We get the information for full days. If you wanted this information for just one project, we could go here, select one project, and we would have the timetable for just this project, Super Company. You would have the total amount of hours, in this case, 2 hours, that has been devoted to the project Super Company. So we have here all the casuistics of time, different types of report. Here we will need a new report that is not still here, which would be the mentions of the other users. So if some other user either mention my company or either mention my name, I should have here another report that would list all these mentions, similar to this, but only with external mentions. So in this way, we would communicate. And even when another user adds a mention to the system, the program in the future will have some kind of notification here, or even can send an email indicating that there is a new mention to review. So it becomes a communication tool. If one of the employees wants to say something to another employee, or to several of them, or to all the company, it makes it easier. It's like sending an email, but it gets stored here and can be reviewed. I'm already finishing, just a couple of additional details. One detail that is important, at least for me, is that the data logging. If we are going to spend a lot of time introducing data in one program, we want to own that data. We want to own that data and be able to do something with it. So with this tool, it's possible to all the information that has been introduced in our diary can be exported to a standard file based on a Markdown format, which is a very well-known format, very easy to understand and very easy to manage. That so this information can be stored in a file, can be exported into a file. We own this information. We can store it in whatever place, and we can, of course, re-import it into the system. So if we need to transfer information from one place to another, we can do it. This is the about. This is where it explains what the programs do. And well, there are a few more details, but I think that I've made a review, a list of the main capabilities of the tool. As you see, it's a very dedicated tool. It tries to do just one thing, tries to do it well. It's not a full Office program which make many very different things, or a Microsoft Teams program which makes a lot of things. But on the other side, it tries to be a tool that tries to do one thing: make a log of the employees' activities and times that dedicate to these activities. Nothing else. Okay, then I will finish the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, because my connection failed just a second ago. Thank you, Ramon. I don't know if any of you have any questions to Ramon, or clarification, curiosities.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello,
Yes.
Javier. Go ahead. Thank you.
Just only, thank you for the presentation, Ramon. Just only one comment and one question. The comment is on the 5 minutes. I know this is kind of let's say a standard saying that the new tools take just 5 minutes from employees, etc. But I mean, I think 5 minutes for a kind of a easy, simple tool this could be. I mean, we are used to that, no? But I think the tool you have shown us is not that simple. I mean, it's kind of it has a kind of a complexity because it can do many other things, and I think this is good. But then, okay, this is opposite to have a 5 minutes dedication, because if the staff has to go there and just, let's say, mechanically fill data, okay, this is 5 minutes, but then there's no value on this information. So if the staff has to go there and look for the reality of some data, to filter out some data, maybe some local activities on the computer has to be as you say it has to be deleted. Maybe some tasks are not relevant. Maybe some meetings you have to edit, you have to log some information. I mean, this is much more than 5 minutes, but it could be good. I mean, I think maybe from a marketing point of view, let's say the 5 minutes sounds well, but I think people shouldn't be scared to say that it might take 20 minutes to do a proper job. So just only as a comment. And for me, the question is regarding, I mean, the end, the ultimate goal of all this, no? Because as you shown us, there has been different evolutions of these tools, and okay, there will be more, I guess, more evolutions. And one day you are going to be able to track, let's say, productivity of people. So you will be able to get kind of information from those data to see that employee A is able to do a kind of task in one day, and another employee B does a similar task in 2 days. So the productivity is half of the other employee. So what I don't know is, once we have this data, because maybe today is not, we are not able to do this because still the information is not highly comparable, etc. But one day, I mean, maybe soon, organizations are going to be able to see how people perform regarding different or similar tasks, and then they will need to take a decision, because maybe 80% of the employees will be on an average performance, but there will be a 10% that will be super performers, and there will be another 10% maybe that will be underperformers. So people that need a lot of time to do similar activities than the average. So okay, with these tools are nice. I understand the need for them, so I support fully this kind of tools. But then also, I don't know whether we have already reflected what the companies are going to do with data once they can assess some performance of their staff.
Okay, thank you for the question. First, in your remark, it's not a question, it's a remark, but I am going to answer it. I also like to answer the remarks. When I said 5 minutes, I said because you need to distinguish in a tool like this, you need to distinguish the entering of daily data. This is one thing. Another completely different thing is to work with this data. This is not going to be done by every employee. It's going to be done only by either administrative staff or either by a manager of people. Of course, if the manager is going to use this tool to take decisions with it, or want to track detailed information of the employees, he can take more time, but this is his work, of course. The 5 minutes received was for the introducing data for every employee. I mean, I insisted on this number because we, as manager of companies, do not want to add another activity to our employees that is very bureaucratic, that makes them spend time on this, so they are not spending this time in another thing. We don't want this. This is the reason that I say we try to minimize this number. In my practical experience, I would say that is realistic, the 5 minutes, but of course, it can be different. And it has nothing to do with the administrative side of the things. The person who needs to take the monthly reports of hours for the administration, well, needs some time to do it. The person that is making an economic review of a project and tries to understand the total cost attached to a project, this can be a long or short task depending on what you want to achieve. So this would be the answer to the first remark. And related to the second, I would say this is just a tool. All the managers in the work are doing every day, all of them, every day, what you have just exposed. They try to distinguish between the super performers, employees, and the slow employees, and they take decisions every day. All of us have done it since the origin of the companies. The only point is that normally people do this with the tools that they have. The normal tool is that you see every employee every day doing his work. They report to you, they explain you what they have done, and you take decision for this. This is exactly the same. Just if we have a better tool, nothing worse will appear. It will be either the same or it will be better, because if the manager have better information, can take better decisions. So in no case, I would make a relation between having this additional information of a tool with something that as an employee, I would worry about.
Thank you. Any more comments, or questions, or remarks? Is there just in the meanwhile? Is there any idea or potential company that could be interested in this new tool? Maybe Thimne, I don't know.
Let's see. We are in a very early stage of development. And the development has arrived to us just to counteract against a new problem that all the world has had, which is that we have changed our way of working due to the situation of epidemics. This is a very, very early tool. We have experience using it internally. This is our first experience. This is a first filter. If you are working with it internally and it works really, really bad, you discover it. So it's a first filter that is telling you that at least it does not work very bad. We need to make the following step. The idea is exactly this. I would consider now very important that a few either companies or teams, maybe when I use the word company, in reality, I could use the word team in the sense that we can say a team is a sub-company inside a bigger company. This is just organizational term. So now I think it would be the moment, and I would appreciate if someone in this meeting gets the idea and want to make this step, that the tool should begin to be used in these other groups or companies or whatever, and they share their experience with us. Of course, we'll be very happy to help to make this testing, and we will take a lot of valuable information from this, because as I say, it has been very useful for us, but we need to understand if it can be as useful for other groups or for other companies. So I would ask anyone here in this meeting that if they have any idea that this tool can be useful for the group, of course, go ahead and we will try to help as much as possible.
Thank you.
Alejandro, first I want to thank you for organizing this Thimne Coffee Talk, and to Ramon for the presentation. I would like to add to the introduction of Ramon that, for those of you who don't know, Ramon is the creator, I think, I was going to say the grandfather of Git, of GID. He developed GID as part of his PhD thesis, and he is a very strange kind of civil engineer who has a vocation for developing IT products. He has shown us the number of products that have come out of his initiative in the first part, and this is the latest one. So if this is as successful as GID, as Git, I think that this is going to be a great adventure again for Ramon, and we are going to follow it very closely from Thimne. It took about 25 years to GID to really to get settled. Time goes, now things go much faster now in the 21st century.
Eugenio, I think that you have muted yourself. No, okay.
Yes, I was going to say that I wish Ramon good luck, and that we will help to really really criticize and bring suggestions so that this tool can be improved. Certainly, it goes in the right direction, and as certainly also has many competitors. But this is real life for us in Thibne. Everything we do is competing with others in terms of software development. So we are ready to really come out with a new idea and support it. So good luck, Ramon.
Thank you, Eugenio.
Okay. If there are no more questions, maybe we close the session. And in a few hours, I think, Ramon, I will be able to send you the recording, I think, because Google Meet has to process it and so on.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much. I hope we can see us physically at some point, or maybe with another presentation at Thibne. And thank you for everything.
Okay.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Thank you and goodbye.